Hi, welcome back. It's Beth, and we're talking all this week about how we can serve God with a mighty purpose. Do you remember in yesterday's story when we learned about how the Wonder Boy found himself in the arms of some loving orphanage workers who knew they needed to work hard to find a family for him, a permanent and loving family? Do you remember about the family here in Indiana who was falling in love with the picture of a boy named Ben, but was feeling in their heart like there was a second seed that had been planted? Ben's parents prepare for their trip to Ethiopia, but they still have that question in their heart. Who's the second seed that God planted there? When were they going to get to meet him and her? Would it be on this trip, or would it come still one day? Well, as they were getting ready to leave, they got the phone call. They knew that was going to happen. There was a Wonder Boy without a name, an active little toddler that was just recently made available for adoption. Were they interested in a second child? And they didn't even have to wait to answer. Without hesitation, they said, yes, we want that boy to be our son as well. Those two boys were brought together in a place where they were waiting for their family to arrive. They heard lots of new words. Words like mother and father and America and adoption. They didn't know yet what they meant, but they knew something was coming. This young couple from Indiana arrived in Ethiopia with their hearts full, trusting in a God who had asked them to serve with a mighty purpose, to say yes when he asked a question. And they were anticipating what it would be like to meet their new sons for the very first time. They saw Ben. They recognized him from the picture they had looked at 100 times now. They took him in their arms and whispered to them the name they had been calling him, Ebenezer, you are our son, Ben. And then there was the Wonder Boy, the active toddler who ran around them and smiled with a big smile. And the dad looked at the mom and said, I think we should name him Joseph. And the mom said, I don't care what we call him, as long as we call him ours. They spent some time together there in Ethiopia, the mom and the dad and these two new sons, getting to know each other and finding out what that verse really means, that God places the lonely in families. And they began to whisper in the boys' ears in a language they didn't even fully understand yet, that they were coming home, that they were going to meet their two brothers and a sister and grandparents and aunts and uncles and a church family and a community who had been waiting and believing in them. And as they arrived at the airport and everyone began to cheer, and those little children ran around each other, and the new siblings saw each other for the very first time, it was a picture of what heaven is really like, of what can happen when we say yes. Ben and Joseph's parents said yes to serving with a mighty purpose, and now they set that example for Ben and Joseph, who are growing up in that home, every chance they can, saying yes when God asks them to serve. I have no idea where Ben and Joseph's stories will take them, but I am confident that the God that created this family, that brought them from one side of the planet to another, has a big story to tell through them yet. Ben and Joseph, I heard that you guys were born in another country. Is that true?
Yes.
What country were you born in?
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia. And where's Ethiopia?
Ethiopia is in the Horn of Africa.
It is? Do you know anything about Ethiopia?
I know that Ethiopia is the second most poverty country in the world, and I know that it has a bunch of mountains.
Oh,
One of the kind of food is injera. It's a kind of bread.
it is? Have you ever tasted injera before?
Yes.
Do you guys like it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Well, one of the reasons why God brought you from that country where you were born to this family is because he had a family here waiting for you. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell me a
Yes.
little bit about your family. You have any brothers or sisters?
Yes.
Three brothers
And
and one sister.
Wow. Are either of you the oldest?
No.
No.
Who's the oldest?
Thomas.
And who's the littlest?
Anna.
Uh-oh, one little girl. And what kinds of things do you like to do with your brothers and sisters?
Play games.
Play games.
Yeah. Do you have a special game you like to play, or just any old game will do?
A
Well-
new game.
We do a variety of certain games.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, so you go to school all day, then you come home, and I'm sure you do your homework as soon as you get home, but after you're done with all your responsibilities, what are some of your favorite things you like to do at home?
Play Legos and ride my bike.
You like to play Legos? Do you have like a favorite thing you like to build with your Legos?
buildings and houses.
You do? Maybe one day you're going to be an architect. You never know. What about you? What do you like to do when you come home from school?
I like to read, think, play outside, and write inventions.
That is a really great way to spend your afternoons. One of the things I like to do is share a little bit with the boys and girls that are watching us about how you all were adopted. If you were going to tell them something about being adopted, what might you want them to know? What's it like to be adopted?
It feels awesome.
It feels awesome.
It feels like you're loved.
Yeah, it does feel like you're loved.